Auch das noch. Oh, wunderbar.
Okay, floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, my topic today will be the integration of people with disabilities into the world of work, challenges for academic human resource management, so for my field I am in, challenges for academic human resource management education, and the contributions of academic esports. And from this title, you already see that I want to bridge our disciplines, and it's in the end about interdisciplinarity and one field learning from the other, one field contributing to the other. And I think having a very new field in academia, not just in the world, gaming, playing, esports, but in the world of universities, is a challenge, but also is an opportunity for all of us. And therefore, I want to go to a bit deeper into this topic. And I would like to start with the problem background I found interesting. And we all know that disability is a prominent but complex issue in modern society. And we all find it is very important, and we all believe in our societies it is very important to include people with disabilities. But if you talk about disability, which type of disability, which idea of disability we are talking about, and we see it is so complex. There are the 3 dimensions of disability. We have body functions and structure, activities at the individual level, or disabilities in participating in society. There are the 4 categories of disabilities: the physical, behavioral, developmental, sensory, the 14 types of disabilities: autism, deafblindness, deafness, emotional disturbance, or whatsoever, and more and more and more. And you can find a lot of more ideas to define disabilities, to categorize it, and so on. So this is complex enough, could be a topic of its own. Then we have also types of impairment, the permanent ideas. It is not only what it is, but the idea of the dynamic view, of the process view. Is it a permanent disability or impairment? Is it a temporary state, or is it a situational thing happening? And therefore, it's complex enough. Then we know, and I'm from business administration, which means we want to give advice to real companies. We know that the integration of individuals with disabilities into the contemporary workforce is a very severe task for companies. They are, in many countries, obliged to do it by law. There are 5% in Germany or 6% in France. The obligation to take people with disabilities into your workforce. And it's not always easy to find people or to onboard people or to integrate them properly and to do everything around. So this is a real hot topic for HRM. And we have other things around. It is that we have in HRM or we need in HRM people, so to say HR managers, HR professionals, who reduce the barriers for individuals with disabilities to embark on their professional careers. You need people being in charge of it, motivated to do this task to include people with disabilities, because in the end it is a personal individual decision just to say, okay, this person I will hire or recruit this person, or even not. And therefore you need awareness, you need people who are motivated in HR. And you have some things around like the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The number 10, for example, is reduce inequality within and among countries, and therefore we know we have some global, worldwide obligation to deal with these issues severely. Then we have the role of universities in general, and in particular as part of study programs such as human resource management or work sociology or social work and so on. And this role is to develop, to train, to teach people in innovative methods and instruments for inclusion. So we are standing in front of our students and say, okay, let's learn something about inclusion. Let's learn something about doing this, and we want to make you better in this. This is our task. And our role is also to motivate those people sustainably to achieve integration performance in their later professional lives. It's not only during the period when they are at university. No, it is motivating them to be still aware when they are in real companies later on. They should be the ambassadors for these ideas. And this ambassadorship is what we have to do. Further point, we see the emergence, the coming up, the development and the professionalization of something new, academic esports. And I quoted Tobias' book because esports as business is a foundation for thinking in terms of business models and in terms of a whole economy around esports emerging. But, hopsala, I have to go back. But on the other hand, we see in this university and more in other universities, we heard of Seth yesterday that we have 147 plus, that something is really emerging as university-based study programs. And the focus is, interestingly, on the foundations of esports, the logics, the application of esports, the skill acquisition, but also on the impact of esports, on gamification and on the related ecosystem, which means a lot of stakeholders, a lot of people interested. And this is what Rune just said some days ago. It is not only aiming at bridging theory and practice of esports at university level, what is interesting enough, but it is aimed at creating positive contributions to society. So people learning esports here, doing academic esports here, will probably have the opportunity to give something back or to influence society, to create some, or co-create. Co-creation aspect is very important at this point. Co-create something in society with people who need it. And we know, as last point of my problem background, that we have different esport communities. There is amateur esports. We had a talk about this yesterday. We have collegiate esports. This is your part. Yeah, do it in colleges and so on, or academic esports. So in a teaching and development training and so on environment, and then we have professional esports. And as we know, the ideas of including people with disabilities in every of these esport communities will be very different. So we heard about this yesterday, the problems in including people with disabilities in professional esports because the competitiveness is so extremely high. So problems about what we are talking about, problems, why do we need to talk about this? And therefore my research objective for today is the question how to exploit the interdisciplinary potential of academic esports in the context of university education in my field, in traditional HRM, in order to include and support people with disabilities in work life. So, put it in a different way, what could we in HRM learn from academic esports just to do it better in our university teaching in order to convince people that this problem is very important and has to sustain in their life later on in the world of work. Okay. And my first question was, while looking for an answer to this, why choosing esports, respectively academic esports, as a benchmark? And I think the inclusion of individuals with disabilities in academic esports seems to be significantly more advanced than in other areas of society. But this is up to now only a guess. I have to look for numbers, and there is still a lack of available data. Yeah, we have some ideas how many people with disabilities or with autism are playing, doing esports, and then the percentages, I have to compare them more properly to the percentages of people being included into work life, being included into sports, being included into different areas. And if you have some information, I would be very happy if you would share them with me. But I have the feeling that especially in academic esports, respectively collegiate esports, because there is also official duty or the official task to include everybody, yeah, because it's state-run and it's there are the state-funded schools, the public universities. We have to do it, and therefore it is a normalcy. But I hope it is the way. I will see, but I have a feeling that it is the way. And if so, how can this be explained? And I have some hypothetical suggestions explaining or looking for explanations why the inclusion is of people with disability might be above average. And there might be some interesting ideas why this will happen, can happen. First, there are lower technical barriers, which practically allow for broad accessibility of gaming. We heard the presentation from you on the controllers. They are assistive technologies, eye tracking devices, colorblind moods, and so on. And the second point is that it is done primarily online, so the barriers to access esport gaming are not as high. The second one, esport creates recognition for people with disabilities. They get a platform to transcend their limitations and compete on an equal footing with others. So they are allowed to take part, and nobody perhaps knows that they have some limiting factors. Second point at this, the experimental gameplay elements may offer options for unconventional gameplay styles and something unexpected. So they can even create some advantage from their disadvantage, if I put it this way, and can bring some interesting new ideas to the playing ground. And they have already a strong resilience, and therefore they can cope with many stressful situations. They have some advantages. Third point, esports allows people with disabilities to preserve their anonymity. And this is not particularly compelling argument from a social standpoint, because we do not want to hide people with disabilities. But anyway, it might be a reason, and then they are, if they are anxious to say I have some impairments, it would be an option for them not to say, and allows for some anonymity if they want to have it. Then historically, esports has its origins in the digital age and has developed inclusively from the outset. Inclusion is an unquestioned normalcy in this field, because it started with this idea. There might be legal points. Esports is inclusive from a legal perspective, because we have, and the companies involved have to comply with standards, with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Disabled People, or with laws, with national laws, translating this United Nations Convention into national law, or with stakeholder expectations who have to be met. The next reason could be inclusive esports serves as a welcome experimental field for the related industries, businesses. So if they want to be innovative, they find an innovation pool or an innovation booster in people with disabilities, bringing ideas they do not have if they are not people with disabilities in the same to the same extent. And the companies could showcase their commitment to creating inclusive environments. Yeah, and the last one I found, esports aims at balancing negative public image and at creating positive societal legitimacy. And this is the idea that esports could, by including people, show and signal the forward-thinking and progressive mindset they have against mindset also against exclusivity and elitism. It is not elitist idea, it is something for everybody, but if everybody should be integrated, this is really everybody, everyone, and it counteracts perhaps negative stereotypes in society against esports if it is related to games where violence is integrated or part of the game. So you have some bad things, but on the other hand, you are the good guys. So that might balance it. And these were my ideas. Why can we as human resources management learn something from academic esports? Why might it be a benchmark? There are some really interesting thoughts in the background, and this is where I'm right now. It is work in progress, and I have I would like to start a little empirical study. This is the questionnaire on the reasons for inclusivity in relation to people with disabilities in esports, and I asked those questions, and I would like you to perhaps copy this or scan this QR code and just fill it in. It's not more than 5 minutes, and spread it if you like in your communities, and I will ask Tobias later to spread it through the ERN network. But just to get some information on what is really going on, or what your perspective is from different perspectives, as a player, as a creator, as an entrepreneur. If you are, whether you are disabled or not, there is might be completely different awareness on what's going on there. So I would be very happy if you could contribute to this. Only 5 minutes. Thank you so much. So academic esports related educational elements for academic HRM education that promote inclusion. So what could we learn? And we could learn 3 things in human resources management, I would say. The first is general awareness. There might be a strong legal basis. We have this in the one field, in the other field. There is a suitable work environment design. We can learn something from esports. The use case, there are inclusive esports teams around. So why not creating inclusive work teams the same way or a similar way? The second one is the assistive technology. This is well known, but it is always a field that these interfaces regarding these impairments people with disabilities might have can be found some compensation for. And there is an integrated focus on support systems, which we could use in human resource management as well and teach our students. And the third is the inclusion organization. So I learned a lot about the inclusive esports events and competitions, opening their competitions for the people with disabilities. And there are a lot of policies, official policies, principles, guidelines, rules of integrating people with disabilities. I think we could learn a lot. How to implement this? And there is the question, not just it's a good idea or not, you can talk about this later on, but how to do it if you find it a good idea. And we have here the challenge of a cross-boundary transfer of knowledge and insight first. So we have to compare the topics of academic esports and HRM, the concepts, the learning objectives, and finding deficits and leads. Where is human resource management more advanced or where it is behind, and where is academic esports more at the front or more behind? So we have to get into a discourse or a dialogue-centered learning, peer-to-peer learning, role-playing games, learners reflect and recognize all the things. So the dialogue on it. Second is the application of didactic concepts from academic esports, and there I hope, Toby, you and your colleagues are developing a lot of new stuff, showing us in human resource management how to teach inclusiveness better. And we would love to copy-paste this. Yeah, perhaps let them play inclusion in HRM, because you play inclusion here. Examples, case studies, adaptation and integration of course materials, which might be better than ours. Then it is not only, I go back, it was a cross-boundary transfer of knowledge and insights. And the second point, this is not only a cross-boundary transfer, it is also an interdisciplinary transfer of knowledge and insight, because we are in different disciplines. And we can do a lot of interdisciplinary projects combining both in action. Guest lectures, workshops, conceptual collaboration across the fields, real-world experience-oriented learning, which means let them participate, the people with disabilities, in developing gaming ideas, developing HR ideas, and let's merge our communities in this point, or project-based learning, learning by doing, discovery learning in real projects that might simulate real-world problems. And the last point I want to make at this point is we are always talking about interdisciplinary research, but we have to take it serious that everybody says this is very, very difficult. And we have to overcome, or be aware that we should overcome, the pitfalls of interdisciplinarity in the end. There is the first one, the interpretation of concepts and underlying paradigms, for example. Yeah, we have to identify the common concepts, the theories or principles, and ask ourselves, do we mean the same things in our respective communities? Because this is not always clear. It is the same wording, the same language, and language is a very, very important part of also bringing fields together. And there might be concepts like team dynamics, leadership and motivation and performance management that may be relevant to both disciplines. And therefore, okay, you have some common ground, but there may also be a complete different idea behind the idea of performance management. In human resource management, you have the company-driven idea of profits and so on, and here you have completely different idea of performance. So it seems to be almost the same, might not. And the second one is not only interpreting the concepts, it is about translating the terminology. And the language must be familiar and relevant to the new discipline, or to the combination of the two disciplines as well. Do we understand the same thing? It's a recipient perspective at this point. And perhaps academic esports uses terms like strategic planning or game mechanics, while human resource management uses strategic management and organizational dynamics. And again, this is a terminology, but there is something behind it. We have to translate the words, or say what is the word we want to use when we work together. Is it strategic planning or strategic management? And we know there are differences in HR. When in HR we try to differentiate strategic planning from strategic management. But when the same meaning is coined management here and planning there, we have first to understand that it is the same thing in HR. So might be interesting, although it is a very specific discussion at this point, diving to the details. So my conclusion is by combining the respective approaches of academic esports and academic human resource management education, universities can raise awareness of the importance of integrating people with disabilities into the workforce. And now the point comes, this prepares future human resource managers to create inclusive work environments later on when they are doing their jobs. Thank you.